Good afternoon, everyone. Let's go ahead and dig into some of the comments here from the other day. And first of all, for those of you who would like to get your car, truck, or Mini Cooper worked on, you live up in the Worcester area, head to Greasy's Garage. As for Pete, Sean, or Ethan, they can all help you. And if you want to learn more about the Q-Post, the vaccines, Tartaria, you just want to do some research, go to communityreviews.org. John Max does a great job of keeping everything updated for you. And then if you'd like to learn more about Kevin Richards' books, he's got them for little kids and big kids. Our grandkids, they love his books. And then if you would like to see some great artwork, click on the links from Teo. Let's go ahead and dig into some of the comments here. So C-Note says, most doctors will never tell you these things because they are programmed by the Rockefeller-funded medical mafia schools tied to the hips of big pharma. So they only know how to diagnose diseases, and sometimes they are way off with that too. And then prescribe one or more pills to fix the problem at the expense of poisoning you to death. They are just legalized drug pushers. They are taught very little to nil on basic nutrition. Nicotine, ivermectin, Fenben, NAC, EDTA will fix many issues too. And then TA says, and sometimes they are way off with that too. True. One of those killed my mother. Stanchel says, careful with that magnesium. Too much can cause the runs. Yeah, that's quite true. And Sino says, also cayenne pepper has some anti-parasitic properties as demonstrated in lab experiments. Cinnamon has great promise as a blood sugar regulator. Not a bad idea to sprinkle some on your breakfast. Chlorine dioxide, if properly administered, has many antimicrobial properties too. No, don't drink bleach for the love of God. You will just burn your insides and wind up in the ER. The cayenne pepper, I've tried taking it in pill form before. Whew, boy, tears my gut up. Not much tears up my gut, but boy, that stuff does. Man, I mean, I try to take it with food and everything, but still, whew, yeah, I gotta spread that out for sure. And the Cocker Spaniel says, Brenda, thank you for giving your thoughts on we can never let this happen again. We are and have been a minority for decades. Take care. English Hawk says, thanks, Martin and Brenda. I've also seen there will be animal centers with med beds for pets and other creatures. Yes, I have too. Yeah, I've heard that. And then Sino says, you can't blame U.S. for letting it happen. We were duped from before birth, starting with a mind wipe after death and rebirth. So as we grew up as young kids, we were reprogrammed with total bullshit and belief systems, which just continued to feed the beast system. The biggest fear of the cabal was mass awakening, which has been happening since 2020. I do think we reached a critical mass of awakened souls, even though it seems many are still asleep. People are starting to catch on about the Obamas and Big Mike, the COVID scam, the financial scam, and much more, judging by what they are saying in the comments on YouTube and here too. I know back home, I would say almost 50% of the people know to a pretty good degree as to what's going on. And then Kit Kat Kitty, I love that name. Brenda, thank you so much for the same insight that I have railed about. You put it in words I couldn't make people understand. Yeah, she has a nice way of doing that. And then KK Goodwin says, yes, same here. Brenda, thank you so much for voicing this. And then Stanchel says the military and most of our government, including police, were all in the cabal. They let this happen because they were compromised and corrupt. We saw what was happening, but the people in power were all evil and corrupt. Even when you stood up for good, you were destroyed and knocked down. And then English Hawk says, in most, if not all Western countries, utilities, gas, electric, water, etc., is already paid for. We are all being well and truly ripped off hand over fist. All one huge money grab by the elites, indeed. And then Sancho says, absolutely, med beds and med wands will heal people within minutes. We will have frequency music and sounds that correct your vibrations, that heal and give you power and energy. Yeah, Brenda puts on at night, she puts on some beautiful music. It's like healing music. And I would say most days I wake up and I sleep. I love going to sleep to that music. It's great. And then Jag Mike says, Brenda, very well said. Many of us have paid a price for pushing back over the years. And then Charles says, I was on a congressional committee for small business 30 years ago. It was a joke. They just want money. There is no other plans, just money. There has never been an election or a legitimate government. I would agree with that. And then Adam says, it's a backup we need, indeed. And then TP12 says, you two are the best. Brenda, I agree. We need to live more in the moment. I agree also that there will be medbed hospitals. Martin, my adult sons were just talking about the Somalians in Minnesota. They are also starting to ask me questions. They would never do that before. They didn't want to hear it. I always pray that when I am asked, the words will come. Good advice to say you don't know when you don't. Thank you, Brenda, for all the book and health recommendations. I've always found, just be honest. If you know something, you know it. If you don't know it, you don't know it. Because if you try to fake it, it's going to come back to bite you in the ass. That's always what I've found. And then Drake, 613 says, thank you, Martin and Brenda. I am so happy you're doing so much better, Martin. Thank you. Happy New Year to you both, and Happy New Year to you as well. Jack J says, found under likes. Sorry. And Stancho says, the organ music just makes me deaf because they play the pipe organs too loud. Soften the volume. And then Smoky High says, the thing is, they took an oath to the Act of 1871. That's not we the people's constitution. That's the corporation's fake constitution. Huge difference. Do, of, through, haven't sworn an oath to our original constitution. They should be swearing in soon, not bashing our notary. Just saying. And Smoky High says, not bashing our military, just saying. And then, damn you, Rumble, where's the edit button? Come on. Yeah, I wish they had an edit button. That'd be nice. And then Zulikia says, Brendan Martin, don't know if you ever watch James Gilliland, but I do hope you might enjoy this Christmas video of his. And then this here. Christmas edition, time to take the blinders off. And then Brenda says, that was excellent, thank you. And then Smoky High says, to those tens of billions of sleepyheads out there, you have 9 years of catching up to do. Better get busy. That's what I tell people. Yeah, I go, man, you got a long ways to catch up. Best get started. Prayers answered says, thank you, Brendan Martin, for another wonderful Sunday podcast. I'm also looking forward to 2026 with some expectation of it reveals, small, medium, and maybe even some big ones. I had high hopes for 2025, and we've seen some cracks start to open. It's a slow process. I'll keep hanging in there with you, and President Trump will thank you. Appreciate it. And yeah, I know it's not easy. I know that. And then Jack J says, where is the Mike King podcast? And then I think someone down here. Truth is Forever says an open letter to libtards and black pill addicts about the Epstein files, Mike King. Yeah, so they put that down in there. RT Weaver says Rumble. And then Jeep Girl says, thank you both. You're welcome. Thank you. And by the way, Mike King is really good. In fact, there's one of someone that I played here on X this morning. He, Mike King, myself, and then there's a gentleman. Oh, he's on X, and I can't remember his name now. But Brenda was giving me stuff from him sometimes, and he too. I mean, we all basically see everything the same way, and I would say along with Sarge and Janine, Honey C, we all tend to see things. Strack, we tend to see things very similarly. Okay, if that helps you at all. And then and I don't listen. I don't have time to listen to everybody, and but I try to take some time to listen to everyone a little bit at least. Anyway, the lizard people did it, and they run the military and everything else. So the Russians say it's the reptiloids. And Charles says it is definitely not our fault. No, it's not. I know I did everything I could years ago, like running for office, and boy, that was a rude awakening. Anyway, they have med bed pods for ambulance. And Jay says, I've heard they will have mobile med bed units. Sounded like they might be vans. That'd be great. Yeah, for people like who live far out in the boonies and stuff, that'd be great. Or maybe some older people can't make it in to the hospitals and stuff. And then BJ77 says, Martin and Brenda sending many good wishes for a happy new year. Same thing to you as well. Safe trip back home, and may all our health improve over the coming year. Love to all. Well, thank you so much. That's very much appreciated. Zulikia says, question about clove tea. Not a cook at all. Is it just cloves and water? Do you add honey? From the link, I could not figure out, is it just water and cloves? Sorry to be so obtuse, but I am a person who needs detailed directions. Thank you for your help. Joy and blessings. And then TA says, found this on how to YouTube. And then HIQ says, thanks for your supportive comments. From Katie, Texas, conspiracy realist. Zulikia says, thank you. And yeah, you can use honey, sure. And then Z3 says, you can simply brew them like tea, two tablespoons for every 8 to 10 ounces of hot water. Organic maple syrup tastes a little better than honey, in my opinion. I put cloves in my coffee grounds basket prior to brewing. That is also another method of drinking cloves steeped. That's a good idea. And Zulikia says, thank you. Guildenstern, saving Israel for last. Mike King, Rise and Fall of the New World Order Cabal. Yeah, Guildenstern, thank you so much for all your the time and effort that you put in putting the links in there into the comment section. That's really nice of you. And then Charles says Aurora Ray in 2026. Yeah, we watched that. And then I think they have always had the med beds in all hospitals for their emergencies. You know, I don't know if they have them in all hospitals, but I think there were a number that did have them. Absolutely. And then we have green and blue bees in Michigan. Google. Wow. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I know that we all of a sudden, we got like I don't know if it's a hornet, a wasp, or bee, but all of a sudden, it was like a few years ago, we saw a black checkered wasp or something like that. Kind of weird. It was good looking. It was cool. And then Doggle Jay says, love you both. Thank you. And then Gillinsburg put med beds with Deep Six, the medical industry. Yep, it would. And then Chat GPT, how many branches in the medical field? And then let's see here. Let me come on down here. Let's see here. And then Guildenstern put some more links down here. TA says, I too support our military, had a military dad, and have an Air Force vet husband. But the pertinent military folks had the plan to destroy the evil that we see today in the 70s, while the people were mostly clueless and were going to remain clueless for decades. Highland 18 says, hope the hospitals are saged really good before the good stuff moves in. Yeah, me too. And then TA says, maybe the frequencies from the med beds will do a similar thing that saging would do. Could be. And then Truth is Forever says, thank you for all your great links, Guildenstern. Yes, thank you so much. And Guildenstern says, you're very welcome. And then Louise 19 says, Martin, I love you doing dip, 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 dip. That's all, folks. Yeah. Thank you. And I love doing it. I don't know why, I just do. And then Stephen Rozalski says, you and everybody else, Brenda, as far as the med beds go, I think this is the most important thing of all. What good is anything else in life if your health is seriously diminished? All the things you once liked to do. All the things you want to do. Yet all in the garbage. What good is being financially stable if you can't do what you wanted to with your money? Some of us are both financially and physically compromised, me included. If I was healthy, I could go back to work. Anyway, love your work, your great research, keep up the positive vibes, and hopefully they will release out before us seniors are dead. Yeah, hopefully so. And then Plucky the Duck says, I love that name, Plucky the Duck. What's funny about myself, I can't stand wearing shoes or socks. It interferes with your connection to Gaia. When I place my feet in sand, I feel the instant connection to Gaia. Yeah, I don't wear socks hardly at all anymore. The reason is because my feet are so doggone big. If I put socks on, I wouldn't fit my shoes. And yeah, they're like 14s fit just fine without socks. I can wear some socks sometimes, but anyway, yeah, it's just part of having big feet. And then 15s are too big. And then Sweet Pea says, there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. I love this. Yes, you're right. And then she says, hello, military. I agree, Brenda. This is not our fault. And then she says, thanks, guys. Have a great week. Happy and healthy New Year, Martin and Brenda. Same to you, Sweet Pea. And then Jarisser says, it makes me so angry to see advertisements about St. Jude and the Shriners Hospitals. Yeah, it does us too. They're criminal when we know that the poor, precious children never had to suffer the way they do. Bring on the med beds and let's enjoy the Nuremberg 2.0 and execute all the evil entities out there harming our wonderful, innocent, loving babies. Amen. I agree. Smokey says, can we just call it Somalia? And then Plucky Duck says, well said, Brenda. Well said. And then Axel Carl says, thank you, Martin and Brenda. That was great today. Happy New Year to both of you. Enjoy your matching canes. I love it. That is a riot. Love and hugs from Axel and Chris. Well, thank you so much. It's very nice of you. And then, yeah, they just live down the road from us. And then Carol Friedman says, this was an excellent podcast. Thank you very much. Sin P says, my sister has TDS hatred. Not good for her health. You know, anytime you spend time hating, it's like, it wears on you. And then Early Morn. Thank you, Brenda and Martin, for the work you are doing. You give me lots to think about. And then Rabbit C says, thank you too. And yes, I will also volunteer for non-Terran sourced med beds. And yes, Rockefucker medicine is done. It is. And then Jane 25 says, thank you, Brenda and Guildenstern, for these fabulous links. I am going to save this show. Brenda, I was born and raised in the South. Got my peas to cook and cornbread fixins ready to cook. And then Sweet Pea says, Brenda, I heard there will be a med bed hospital in Denver. Good, good. And yeah, we need one in Delta and Grand Junction too. And then Ishak says, good to see you both doing well. And Martin healed up from the eye surgery. Also, the new should fall in spring around April, like April 1st. Would make sense because all the trees, plants, and animals come out. I remember David Strait speaking about this as well. You all stay blessed. Well, thank you. You as well. Yeah, the only thing I got to go in the early part of January, and then he's going to take out. There's like 3 stitches that took something around and made it into a football, and I think that's one reason why I have the distortion, especially at night, of the lights. So, and then Sweet Pea says, Martin, when you know the truth, you know. Yep. LLM says, Happy New Year, one and all. Thank you. Head Grower says, the road to happiness is always under construction. Linda Gray book she wrote when she was 70. Wow. Interesting. And then Michael Z says, I love the Porky Pig sign off. Thank you. And then Machine MSG says, dams have to go. Water needs to flow naturally. Yes, it does. And then TA says, watching decomposition behind glass sounds distinctly unappealing to me. And Brenda says, I agree. You know, I know it sounds silly, but could you just imagine walking by those decaying corpses and all of a sudden one of them jumps up and goes, let me out, let me out. that would freak people out. Oh man, I know, I got a weird sense of humor. Anyway, Deb Rick says, Happy New Year. And then Sweet Pea says, not interested in seeing a loved one decompose. And Frisian 52 says, or anyone else for that matter, what a bizarre burial practice. Lisa Hall says, you all are so cute, matching canes. And then Roman Girl says, in Louisiana, it's black-eyed peas, cabbage, and pork. Sounds good. And then HIQ says, cloves kill parasite eggs, allegedly. Been adding some whole cloves with lemon with green sun tea. Stacy Panic says, yes. Brenda, the first time I heard that, I thought, I did not let this happen. I did not consent to this, and I will not consent. Those words that I let this happen, hell no. And then she says, selected, not elected on all levels, period. There has always been an agenda that have to be pushed forward by their little toys. Voting for our choice was an illusion. The lockdown was purposeful to get us looking into all of this crap. Yeah, I got a feeling that this movie has been going on for longer than we think. And something tells me that the military has had control for longer than we think. And in fact, the people who've been switched out, I think many were switched out a lot longer than we think. Anyway, just a thought. Bird Lover says, pasta. When I was in chiropractic school, my friend from New Jersey ran around to top 10 groceries stores because her husband wanted ziti. It's mostacilio in the Midwest. Anyway, so seriously, it's all just effing noodles. No, I hate to tell you, but no, people there's a lot of people that would disagree. And they had a fight, and she stayed with me for several days. I had to give her a coat and shoes over pasta. Some people, they take their pasta pretty serious. And then Brenda says, try convincing a real Italian that it's all just fucking noodles. Yeah, you're not going to get very far. And then she says, my friend was a real Italian. Her maiden last name, Valente. It was her non-Italian cheating husband who had the hissy fit over the pasta. Ziti and Mosta Cioli are the same noodle, just a different name in different regions, Midwest versus East Coast. And Brenda says, I lived in Italy for 14 years. I get it. And then Jules Thorne says, thank you both. Always such a lovely chat. Thank you. HIQ says, Rothschild Israel is done, in my opinion. And prayers. The reveal continues. Hyperdrive Gear Truth. Drop the Hammer Alliance. Public Tribunals. EBS Worldwide. And Gesara. Happy New Year. And Happy New Year to you as well. And then Patriot Graham. Thank you, Martin and Brenda. Love you both. Well, thank you. And then thank you. Let's see. Spirit Magician says, you two are the bomb. Thank you so much and Happy New Year. Well, thank you. That's very kind. Cossack Queen says, thank you. FPF Suli says, Happy New Year, Brodels. Love you tons. God is blessing us. He is indeed. Or she. Yeah, if you listen to some of the near-death experiences and you ask people who have seen God, they go, so what is God? Is he male or female? And they go, he's both. And then they'll ask sometimes, what is God? And they'll say, some say pure energy, some say pure light, and some say pure love. Maybe God is all of those. Sabine Barbara, dear Brenda, here in Germany, the awakened speak of there being no medbeds. They derive this wisdom from the cards. For example, they say that through the Christ awakening and return to our culture and spirituality, we will learn to heal ourselves. Therefore, there will be no medbeds. Many, many years ago, in my first C-section, I felt very ill in the sense that I was powerless. My mind could not defend itself against pain and delirium. I do not believe that a person is powerless. Such talk makes me angry. I do not find it positive. Brenda, what you said at the beginning is absolutely right. I see it the same way. Thank you very much for your fabulous and tireless work. I wish you a wonderful and healthy New Year, Brenda and Martin. Thank you. And then she says, thank you, Brenda, for making me laugh out loud by saying linguine. That's what we had. I love you. One day I would like to meet you in real life. Do you pass Huntsville, Alabama on your way back home? No, we go up and over is what we do. We may go that way sometime, though. Never know. And then Mrs. CLA says, thank you so much for this broadcast. I just listened to Edgar Cayce video. Wow, that really hits home with me. It hit home with me, too. I am going to look at the rest of these things you posted also. I count you both as blessings as I travel through this awakening journey. You have really touched my heart, sending you love, light, and blessings. Eileen. Well, thank you. And then Prince 25 says, oh, Brenda, you're so right. It wasn't the people. Thank you. Crow 2 says, that's right. The nail that sticks out is the one that gets hammered. Hallie B says, many dams have been removed in southern Spain. Maybe other areas too, but I know of these, although they were partly blamed for the devastating floods in the areas by the mainstream media. Yeah, what I'm wondering is if instead of dismantling the dam, if they just simply open it up so that the water can run freely through there, is that good enough? I don't know. Just ask. I don't know what the answer to that would be. Anyway, that is all for now. I'm going to end it right there. I want to thank you all for your support, and thank you for supporting the sponsors of the channel. Gracie's Garage up in Worcester, communityreviews.org, and then Alaska Chaga Tea, Tails Artwork, and Kevin Richards Books. God bless you and have a great day. Bye-bye now.